Hello everyone, welcome to Augment Tech. In this session, we will be learning about Python tuples. By the end of this session, you should be able to understand Python tuples, tuple items, tuple length, tuple constructor, tuple indexing, tuple sizing, tuple concatenation, check tuples, tuple unpacking, and tuple methods. I'm excited to get started and I hope the same from you. Let's get started with Python tuples. Tuples are used to store multiple elements in a single variable. A tuple is a collection or a sequence which is ordered and unchangeable, meaning it is immutable. Once defined, it cannot be changed. Tuples are written with round brackets or using parentheses. There we go. This is how the tuple looks like. So tuple elements are written inside the parentheses, which is also known as round brackets or regular bracket. Now let's see what are tuple items. Tuple items are ordered, unchangeable, and allow duplicate values, meaning one element can be repeated any number of times in a tuple. Tuple elements are indexed. The first element has index position 0, the second element has index position 1, and so on. Now let's see what is tuple length or how to find the length of a tuple. So to determine how many elements a tuple has, we can make use of the len function, which returns the total number of elements in a tuple. There we go. Using len function, we can count the number of elements in our tuple. So this will return the output 3 because our tuple has 3 items or elements. Now let's see what a tuple constructor is or how to construct a tuple using tuple constructor. So it's also possible to use tuple constructor to create a tuple or to make a tuple. Let's have a look at the syntax. So here we have a tuple variable equals tuple followed by double parenthesis. So the syntax to create a tuple using tuple constructor is tuple keyword followed by double parenthesis, inside which we can specify our tuple elements or items. Now let's see how to access tuple items. So you can access tuple items by referring to the index number inside the square brackets. So indexing starts from 0 and goes up to length minus of 1. And from left hand side, indexing starts from 0, and from right hand side or the end, indexing starts from minus 1. So here in this example, my tuple of 1 would return the value b because b is the element or item that is sitting in the position 1. Now let's see what is negative indexing. So negative indexing starts from minus 1, that refers to the last item. So minus 2 refers to the last second item, and so on. So there we go. My tuple of minus 1 should give us the value Facebook because Facebook is the last element here. Now let's see how to perform slicing or range of indexes in tuples. So you can specify a range of indexes by specifying where to start and where to end the range. When specifying a range, the written value will be a new tuple with the specified elements. So using indexing, we can print one single element from the tuple. Using slicing, we can print multiple elements or multiple items from the tuple. There we go. This tuple is going to print elements from index position 5 to 2 to 5, inclusive of 2 and exclusive of 5. It means it is going to print index positions 2, 3, 4 and not the index position 5. Now let's check if an item exists in a tuple. To determine if a specified item is present in a tuple, we can make use of the in keyword. In is also a membership operator here. There we go. So checking using in keyword or membership operators would result in either true or false. So here if apple is present in my tuple, then it will go inside of the if block and print yes, apple is in the fruits tuple. Now let's change tuple values. Tuples are unchangeable, meaning once defined, you cannot change them. You cannot add or remove items once that tuple is created. Once a tuple is created, you cannot change its value. Tuples are unchangeable or immutable. But there is a workaround. You can convert the tuple into list, change the list items, and convert the list back into tuple. Alright, so here in this example, we are trying to change the element at index position 1 Java to big data. So here you can see the tuple is converted into an intermediate list. We can make the necessary changes in the list and convert the list back to tuple. So this is how we can change tuple values. Now let's see how to add items to tuple. Since tuples are immutable, they do not have built-in methods like append, insert, extend, but there are other ways to add items to a tuple. First is we can convert into a list, just like the workaround for changing tuple. You can convert it into list and then add your items and convert the list back into tuple. Second is we can go and add a tuple to tuple. So you're allowed to add tuples to tuple. So if you want to add one item or many items, we can create a new tuple with item and add it to the existing tuple. Now let's see how to remove items from the tuple. So tuples are unchangeable, so you cannot remove items from it. But again, there is the same workaround as we use for changing and adding tuple items. That is converting the tuple into list, making the necessary changes. In this case, removing the tuple item, then again changing the tuple back, changing the list back to the tuple. So tuple items cannot be deleted. Instead, the entire tuple can be deleted. Now let's see tuples concatenation. So concatenation is joining, combining, or adding tuples. To join two or more tuples, we can make use of the plus operator. So plus here is the concatenation operator that is going to join two tuples. Now let's see what is tuple unpacking. So when we create a tuple, we normally assign values to it. This is called packing a tuple. There we go. Here we have a tuple consisting of elements. But in Python, we are also allowed to extract the values back into variables, and this is called unpacking. And there we go. This is the tuple which is unpacked. Now let's have a look at the tuple method. So Python has built-in methods that we can use on tuples. Below is the table that describes the method and the description. Count method is going to return the number of items a specified value occurs in a tuple. And index method searches the tuple for a specified value and returns the index position of where it was found. Now let's hop to PyCharm and check out the example of Python tuples. I'll see you there. Now here I'm on my PyCharm, so I'm going to right click on the sequences folder, go to new, create a new Python file and name this to be tuples. So you need not name your file as tuple because it is a built-in, and in the later stages you might end up with a circular import error. So I'm naming my file as tuples. So let me define what a tuple is. So tuple is a sequence or a collection which is ordered, indexed and immutable. That is, it cannot be changed once defined. Also, tuple allows duplicate elements, meaning one element can be repeated any number of times in a tuple. And then tuple is written using round brackets or parentheses. Now let's try to create a tuple variable. So here I'll first try tuple. So as you can see, it is a built-in, so you cannot name your variable as a built-in. So what I'll do is I'll just skip this U and E. So let's say our tuple is TPL. You can take any name. Let me assign parentheses to this tuple. And now when I go and print this tuple, and let's check the data type of it by using the type function. So type of tuple, and let's run. So right click on this tuples file, click on run tuples. There we go. You see here we have an empty tuple. So this tuple is not holding any elements. So that's why it's an empty tuple. Now let's go and add an element to this tuple. Let's say the element is 40. I'm going to print the tuple and also check for the data type of it. So here I say print type of TPL. Let's go and check what output it gives. So let's rerun. There we go. You see, it gives me the output as 40 and class int. So here, even though I'm writing this 40 element inside of my tuple, it still says that it is not a tuple, but it is instead an integer. Why is that so? Because when you have one single element inside your tuple, after the element, you're supposed to put a comma. So this is an example of tuple with single element. Let's quickly run and check. There we go. Now it changes to class tuple, and the output is we got 40 with a comma inside the round brackets, indicating that it is a tuple. Now let me add couple of more elements to this tuple. Let's say tuple is 40, 50, 40, X, Y, Z. So here you can see tuple is a heterogeneous sequence or a collection which can hold data from different types like integers, strings. You can even have floating point numbers and boolean values as well. So if I go and print tuple, the output here is 40, 50, 40 and XYZ. Alright. So now an important point here is that because tuples are immutable, here I'm going to specify that we cannot use methods such as append, insert, extend, remove, clear, etc. on tuples because they are immutable. Alright, now let's see how we can find length of a tuple. So here I'm going to say length of tuple. So length of a tuple can be found using the len method or len function. So here I'm going to say print len of tpl. That should return the total number of elements present inside my tuple. So let's run and check. You see it gives me output 4 because our tuple is having elements 40, 50, 40 and xyz. Now let's see if it is possible to repeat our tuple. We'll see what is tuple repetition. So here I'm going to say print tuple variable into 3. Let's say I want to repeat this tuple thrice. So now when I go and run, there we go, you see it prints the tuple thrice. So it means tuple supports repetition, and you can repeat the tuples using asterisk operator. In other words, we are just multiplying the tuples for specific number of times. Now let's see what is tuple indexing, or let's see how to access tuple items. So for reference, I'm gonna again copy the tuple here. Let me go back and get the tuple. And indexing starts from 0. So when I say print tuple of 0, this should return the element 40. See, the output is 40 here. What if I go and say print tpl of 2? So this is 0, this is 1 and this is 2. Again I get the output as 40. Alright. What if I go and say print tpl of 4 and run? You see, this gives me an error saying tuple index out of range because we do not have index position 4 in this tuple. So that is why it says tuple index out of range. Now let's try doing negative indexing on tuple. So when I say tuple of -2, so 40 is at index position -2, as indexing, negative indexing starts from right hand side with value -1. So now you see the output here is 40. What if I say print tpl of -3? So I get the output as 15. Alright, so this is about how to access tuples using the index position. Now let's see what is tuple slicing or range of indexes. So here we will be printing multiple elements from the tuple. let's say if I have to print elements from index position 1 to 4, so let's go and check. Here we have 50 at index position 1. This is 40 again at index position 2, and XYZ as index position 3. So what will happen is it will print from index positions 1 till 3, because the range here is the start point is 1 and the end is 4. So here the lower index is 1 and the higher index is 4. So it is inclusive of start index and exclusive of end index. So that should print index positions 1, 2 and 3. So now when I run, it should give me output as 50, 40 and XYZ. Alright, so what if I say TPL of 2:3? So here the start index is 2 and the end index is 3. So this is inclusive of 2 and exclusive of 3. So it will only print the index position that is at 2. Element at index position 2. So that should give me the output as 40 again. There we go. You see this is an element, a tuple with a single element. So here you can see 40 along with a comma. Now what if I go and say tuple of 2:5? So when you give a higher value to the slice, or when you give the greater number of value to your slice and index, so this will not give you an error saying tuple index out of range, because the higher index is however excluded. So it should print index positions 2, 3 and 4. So anything greater than 3 would not give you an error here. So there we go. You see the output is 40 and XYZ. Even if I go and write 7 here, this should not give me an error, because here we have index position 0, 1, 2 and 3. So anything greater than 3 at the higher index would print everything else from the start index that you have specified, but never it will give you an error. So now when I run, you see the output is again 40 and XYZ. Now let's try doing slicing using negative indices. So here I say -3 colon -1. So in slicing, your start index and end index is always separated by colon. So now when I go and run, you see it returns index positions -3 and -2. Here it is negative, inclusive of -3 and exclusive of -1. So index positions -3 and -2. What if I say tuple of -1 colon -3? So now when I run, you see it gives me an empty tuple. The reason is the start index or lower index element should always be smaller than the element at higher index or the end index. So here -1 is greater than -3. That is why it is not able to slice and it returns empty tuple. Now you can also pass that value to your tuple, or step value to the slices. For example, here if I say print TPL of, I want to print uh, till 3, index position 3, or let's say till index position 2. So if I do not specify the start, by default it will start from the start. So it is 0, 1 and 2 index positions. So for this I want to specify 2 as the step value. Alright, or we will be writing this in next line so that we can clearly see the output. So here I'm going to write print tuple of 2:2. So here 2 is the step value. So it should print index position 0. Here it will print 0 and 1. So when I say 2 is the step value, it will only print the first element. So if you have more number of elements in your tuple, let's say here if I say 3, it will print alternate numbers, or the numbers that are index whose index are multiples of 3. Alright, so now if I say print If I say 2 and colon, so here I'm specifying the start but I'm not specifying the end. It means it will start from index position 2 and print everything else. So that gives me output 40 and XYZ. Now what if I say print TPL of colon colon? So when I say colon and do not specify start or end, it should print the entire tuple. And when I pass the third argument or the step value of -1, so it should give me the reverse of tuple. There we go. You see, it's reversing the tuple. XYZ 40, 50, and 40 is the output. So here I'll write a comment saying -1 step value will reverse the tuple. All right. Now let's see how we can change the tuple values. For example, let's say I have a tuple x equals holding the elements Python, Java, and Django. Now what I want is I just want to change the element at index position 1. I want to change Java to big data. Let's see if it is possible. So here I'll say x of 1 equals big data. And then let's try printing x. Let's check what output it gives. So when I run, you see this gives me an error saying type error tuple object does not support item assignment. Because tuples are immutable in nature, it is not possible to change the tuple items or elements. So what we can do in that case is here we can convert our tuple into list, make the necessary changes and convert the list back into tuple. So here what I'll do is I'll first go and print this tuple, and then I want to convert this tuple into list, and after converting I want to store in a variable like y equals list of x, and then when I go and print y, you should see the brackets should be changed. There we go. You see this is a list, this is a tuple, and this is a list. So we have converted tuple into list. Now in this list, I can change Java to big data by writing y of 1 because the index position of Java is 1. So here I can say big data, and I can now go and print my list y. So now when I go and run, you see in my list y, Java has been changed to big data. And now what I can do is I can convert this list back into tuple. So either I can take the same variable x or any other variable. So I'll take z here. Z equals tuple of y. And then I can go and print my variable z. So that should return a tuple. There we go. You see now the tuple is Python, Big Data, and Django. So this is how the tuple values can be changed by converting into list, making the necessary changes and converting the list back into tuple. Alright, now what if I try adding elements to tuple or items to tuple? So in tuple, we know that we do not have append method, insert method or extend method to add elements to tuple. So again, we can do the same thing. We can first convert the tuple into list, add the elements to the list, and then again convert the list back to tuple. For example, if I say, let's say my tuple is TPL equals, the elements of my tuple are BMW, Ferrari, and Audi. Now let's say I have to add Jaguar after Audi. So what I'll do is I'll first try doing that by using tuple of let's check what index position it would be. This is 0, 1, 2, and 3. So here I say tuple of 3 equals Jaguar, and then if I try printing the tuple, this would give me an error saying tuple objects does not support item assignment. Alright, now what if I go and check with append method? So here if I say tpl dot append of Jaguar and print the tuple, let's see what output it gives. And you see this again gives me an error saying attribute error type, a tuple object has no attribute append. So because tuple does not support append method. That's why it gives us an attribute error. So now what we have to do is we have to again convert this tuple into list. Let's say my list is tpl1 equals list of tuple, and then I can make the necessary changes in my tpl1. So here I say tpl1 dot append, and then append jaguar to my tuple, and then I can print tpl1. And now when I go and run, you see I have a list to which I have added jaguar, so I have to again convert this list back to tuple. So here I say tpl equals tuple of tpl1, and now I can go and print my tuple. There we go. You see, now the list has been changed back to tuple. So this is how you can add elements to tuple by converting into list, adding an item to it, and then again converting back to tuple. Now let's go and see how we can join tuples. So here I'm going to create two tuples. Let's say t1 equals 1 2 3, t2 equals 4 5 6. So I can make use of the concatenation operator plus to join the tuple. So here I say t1 plus t2 and run. You see this should give me the output as 1 2 3 4 5 6. Or I can make use of a third variable t3 in which I can store the output of t1 and t2, and then I can go and print this variable t3. So this should also give me the output 1 2 3 4 5 6. Or I can say print, I can take first variable t1 plus the elements of second variable, that is 4 5 and 6. Or inside the print statement I can simply skip the variables and just include the tuple items. So 1 2 3 plus 4 5 6. So all of this should give me the same output 1 2 3 4 5 6. So here in tuples we cannot make use of method extend to concatenate two tuples as we do in list. Now let's see, is it possible to delete tuple item? So I'll try deleting. Inside my T3 I have 1 2 3 4 5 6. So I'll try deleting uh, the first element, that is 0. So here I write delete T3 of 0, and now when I go and print T3, let's see what output it gives. And you see this gives me an error saying tuple object doesn't support item deletion. So again, if I have to do so, I have to first convert my tuple into list and use the remove method or pop method in my list to remove or pop the element, and then convert the list back into tuple. So deleting a tuple item is not possible. Instead, we can delete the entire tuple. So here I'm gonna say tuple item cannot be deleted. Instead, entire tuple can be deleted. So for example, here I go and see and say delete of T3 and run, print T3 and run. You see this also gives me an error, but this time it should be name error saying T3 is not defined because the T3 variable was initially available and now we have deleted, so that's why it says it's not defined. Alright, now let's go and see what is a nested tuple. So tuple inside another tuple is a nested tuple. For example, here I say TPL equals, let's say my tuple is having first element as Python. Here I'm going to have a nested tuple with elements 1, 2 and 3. Another nested tuple with elements x, y, z, and another nested tuple with element a. Now if I go and run this, it should give me a nested tuple. Alright, so now let's try doing indexing on this nested tuple. So here when I say print tpl of 0, this should actually give me output as Python. So here Python is at index position 1, 1, 2, 3 is at index position, sorry, Python is at index position 0, 1, 2, 3 is at 1, XYZ is at 2, and A is at index position 0, 3. When I say print TPL of 0, it should give me output as Python. And now if I say print TPL of 2, it should give me XYZ. And now if I say print TPL of 5, it should give me an error saying tuple index out of range because we do not have any element at index position 5. So I'll go and comment this. Now, what if I want to print n from this Python or n from this entire nested tuple? So what I can do in that case is print TPL of, let's first print Python by specifying the index position of Python as 0, and then here we'll be doing multi-dimensional indexing or two-dimensional indexing, where in the second bracket I have to mention the index position of n in this string Python. So that should be 5. Now when I go and run, you see this gives me output as n. Similarly, if I say print TPL of, let's say this time I have to print 3. So first I have to say 1, that would give me 1, 2, 3, and in the second bracket I have to specify the index position of 3, that is 2. So now when I go and run, this should give me output as 3. What if I go and say print TPL of 2 and 2? So what would happen? 2 will give me XYZ, and in tuples you can actually do string indexing. So that's why it should return the output as Z. This is not possible in lists. For example, if I remove this tuple brackets and write the list bracket and run, you see this gives me an error saying index error list index out of range. So you cannot do string indexing when you have strings inside your list, but you can do string indexing when your string is inside the tuple. So that's why it gives me the output as Z. Now what if I go and say TPL of 3 of 1 and run? You see it gives me an error saying index error string index out of range. So why is it giving string index out of range? Because here this string A or this element A is at index position 0 and not at 1. So if I change this 1 to 0 and run, there we go, you see the output is A here. Alright. Now let's check the tuples, or this is tuple membership test that could be performed using in an not in operators. So using in a not in operator, we will be checking if an element is present in the tuple or no, and that would result either in true or false. So here I say in and not in. So here I'll create a tuple, let's say my TPL equals, the tuples are 2 string 1 Python high 1. So now when I go and say 2 in my TPL, so if the number 2 is present in my TPL, it should return true. So now let's run and check. There we go, it says true because the number 2 is present in my tuple. What if I say 1 in my TPL? Alright, so 1 in my TPL, if you see, look at the quotations carefully. Here I have wrapped around 1 in tuple. So this I'm actually printing as a string, so this will not give me the output in the form of true or false. Instead it will print 1 in my TPL. What if I say Python in my TPL? So this should actually give me false because of the quotations I'm using. So here Python is in single quotation, and here I'm actually wrapping the single quotation Python around this double quotation. So that is why it gives me false. Now what if I say hi in my TPL and run? This again gives me false. The reason is here, if you look at the quotations, so first we have single quotations inside which we have double quotations. So now when I go and say hi in tuple, you see it gives me the output true. Now what if I say one not in tuple? So this should now give me false because we have string 1 in our tuple. Now what if I have to check multiple elements at a time? For example, here if I say 2 and 1 in my TPL, let's run and check if this gives output as true. There we go, you see. So using an operator, you can check for multiple elements inside your tuple or multiple items inside your tuple. So let's see what is tuple packing and unpacking. So first we will see what is tuple packing. So here I say T1 equals, let's say the tuple elements are red, black, and green. So if I go and print this tuple, so this is known as tuple unpacking, where we assign the tuple to a variable. This is known as tuple packing. Let's go and see what is tuple unpacking. So here we can extract the values back into tuple by doing tuple unpacking. So here what I'll do is, let's say R B and G equals T1. So now that we have extracted, I can just go and print this R, B and G, and run. You see this should give me the output as red, black and green, that is the elements of my tuples. So this is known as tuple unpacking. Alright, so now let's go and see what is the tuple constructor. So the syntax to write a tuple constructor is tuple keyword followed by double parenthesis. So we can create a tuple using tuple constructor. For example, here if I say tpl equals tuple keyword, inside the double parenthesis, if I say something like USA, UK, Canada, and if I now go and run my tuple variable, so if I print my tuple variable, there we go, you see the output is a tuple. I can also go and check the data type of it by saying type of tuple, and you see it should give me class tuple. So this is the syntax of tuple constructor using which you can create a tuple. Now let's see tuple methods. So we have only two methods in tuple. First one is index and the other one is count. So here I say t1 equals, let's say 1 2 3 1 1 2, and then if I say print t1 dot index of, if I say I want to find out the index of 3, so it should return 0 1 and 2 because 3 is at index position 2. And now let's go and see count. So here I want to find out the count of, let's say t1 of count of 1, and now when I run this, should again give me 2 and not 3, because we have number 1 twice, so that's why it counts the number of occurrences of the specified element and it returns 2 as the output, because 1 is occurring two times, and this 1 which is inside the quotation is not a number, it is a string 1. That is why it is not able to count it. Tuples does not have a lot of methods to support, because tuples are immutable in nature. We do not have methods like append, insert, extend, remove, clear, pop, sort, all these in tuples, because they are immutable. Now this was all about tuples in Python. Let's hop to the quiz. Let's get started with the quiz. Let's have a look at the question number 1. Tuple is a sequence which is dash. Let's have a look at the options. A, ordered; B, index; C, immutable; D, all the above. Pause the video and try answering this question. So let's have a look at the answer to this. It's D, all the above. So tuple is a sequence or collection which is ordered, indexed, and immutable, meaning once defined, it cannot be changed. And elements are sitting at specified index positions, and they are ordered. Now let's move to the next question. Question number 2. Tuple is written using dash brackets. Now let's have a look at the options. Option A is curly braces or flower bracket. Option B is parenthesis. Option C is square bracket, and option D is double parenthesis. Pause the video and try answering this question. Now let's have a look at the answer to this. It's option B, parenthesis or round bracket. Now let's move to the next question. Question number 3. Dash is the syntax of tuple constructor. Now let's have a look at the options. Option A is tuple followed by flower bracket. Option B is tuple followed by single parenthesis. Option C is tuple followed by square bracket, and option D is tuple keyword followed by double parenthesis. Pause the video and try answering this question. Now let's have a look at the answer to this. It's option D, tuple followed by double parenthesis. Now let's move to the next question. Question number 4. Dash method returns the number of times a specified value occurs in a tuple. Now let's have a look at the options. Option A is count method. Option B is index method. Option C is length method, and option D is all the above. Pause the video and try answering this question. Now let's have a look at the answer to this. The answer is option A, count. So count method returns the number of occurrences of a specified element inside a tuple. Now that was all about tuples in Python. That's all for this session. Hope you enjoyed this session. We'll see you in the next.